See my ugly face. Well, she's been working across, so.
Hello everyone, thank you again for joining me. First thing I want to ask is, have you ever seen any crazy looking welds on like bridges, small town bridges, benches, or stools or anything like that? Wonder how that weld's holding anything. The one thing I want to stress today is the importance of finding the right welder to do the job. Otherwise, you'll waste a lot of time, money, and you'll have a wonky looking final project for it if you don't hire the right guy. Most of my information today is coming from all the knowledge that I've learned at SEC, going through school there in high school, and through this modern welding book that I got from there. And then I'll also be showing off a couple of my welds that I've done from school. Today I'll be mainly talking about the types of welding, like all the different kinds, like what the welds, like the quality of the welds will look like and whatnot. Plus the effects of the different kinds and whatnot. Then I'll kind of tell you stories of how people have messed up and improved in welding and how welding's became what it was today. And then and also like the importance of quality welding and why it's so important, why we'll need it forever. So to get started, the first topic I'm going to talk about is types of welding and the range of quality that the welds can have. Welding is the joining process of metal using a gas or metal arc. Welding is mainly used in like construction, building cars, stuff like that, art or repairs and whatnot. The four main types of welding are stick, MIG, TIG, and flux core. Those are really commonly used. All processes kind of weld different onto different kinds of metals and whatnot, but they all kind of have the similar output towards like visual and whatnot. It's really a good thing to get experience in everything, because all different types of weldings are commonly used everywhere, pretty much any kind of construction. If not done right, or if done right, welds should be smooth, even, kind of convex, slightly convex beads that heat up the part enough to fuse the metals together, so and fill in the gaps properly, so it looks like there was nothing there. It was just fused to begin with. If not welded or set up right or cleaned or anything like that, you can get impurities in your welds known as porosity. Porosity or like air sockets or just stuff getting into your welds that causes impurities. Flux core, you can get like wormhole porosities. There's just different kinds for each process. With stick welding, you can get slag inclusions. Slag inclusions would kind of be looking like that and whatnot. And a lot of impurities, they can also cause cracks in your welds that look like that pretty much, and that reduces the strength and whatnot of your welds. And with MIG and TIG welding, impurities affect it a lot more. This is kind of what a consistent, like quality looking weld would be like, and this one, like for TIG welding, this would be more of a kind of inconsistent, non-quality weld. To transition, I'm going to talk about how people have made mistakes and improved in welding over the years. Trial error is part of welding. It's the best way to get the experience you need. I mean, it's done by retrying, making mistakes, and just retrying until you get it right, pretty much. Going through school, you learn quick that you're not as good as you think you are. You need that experience so when you get out in the field that you don't really have very many errors, especially on expensive projects and like that. Going through school, I've welded over 300 or more pieces, and there's always still room for improvement and quality. Really need that hands-on experience. I was doing a monster pipe. It was a really expensive piece of pipe for one of my classes, and just welding in the wrong direction. I went downhill instead of uphill, and that caused it to get impurities, and it messed up my welding. So I learned quick that, there's always room for improvement. You gotta have a lot of knowledge. And then around in like World War One, my instructor was telling me this. One of my classes around in World War One, they needed ships to haul cargo overseas and stuff like that. And they didn't have a lot of experienced workers, but they needed workers. So they had a lot of inexperienced people welding on these ships to haul cargo to the army and whatnot. And they welded up like 50 of them. And when they put them in the water, the ships literally split in half because the welds weren't right, and the technology wasn't as advanced as now. And so they learned real quick that they needed to up the technology, and they needed to improve and be more experienced with that type of stuff. It really persuaded them that quality was important. Hopefully now, with learning the mistakes and whatnot that I've made and other welders have made as well, I can really persuade you why quality welding is really important. Um, without good welders, construction of any sort wouldn't be able to go on. I mean, without any type of machinery like skid loaders, anything like that, forklifts, cranes, whatnot. If we didn't have welders, those won't really exist. And, I mean, they wouldn't have been able to put them together. Tall buildings and skyscrapers, those wouldn't be able to hold together just how tall they are, and the amount of weight and pressure that holds on those welds when people are actually living in them and when the buildings are actually being put together. If your welds are not good on that, I mean, that whole video or that whole building is just going to tumble. I mean, it shows how important quality is. Transportation like cars, bikes, airplanes, even trains, they need quality welds on that. Like, you don't want a car part failing on you, especially an important car part, and have it, have the whole car flipper. You don't want anything to fail on a car, or especially with airplanes and stuff like that too. Bridges are another big thing. Quality welding on bridges. If you have a lot of cars going on bridges, and if it's a tall bridge, you need quality welds on that, and especially pipelines. You don't want anything leaking from the pipelines and whatnot. So hopefully today I persuaded you how important it is to know about quality welds. Always be the right person for the job. Welding helps build the world that we live in today and advances it more. Welders are needed. Alrighty. Thank you.